Hello everyone! Today we are breaking down the mistakes beginners make when analyzing the weather category on Polymarket. I'd like to ask you to subscribe to our Telegram channel right away. There are other categories there, including weather categories, event breakdowns, and also insider information on some of these events. Another systematic error in temperature markets is that participants confuse the first number they come across with the number that will actually be used for the resolution. For the same station and the same time, there almost always exist several versions of temperature reports, preliminary ones from the real-time data stream, and the final one, officially confirmed a day or two later. The market doesn't ask what the thermometer showed at that exact moment. It asks what the specific official data source, as specified in the rules, will say. For most airport stations, data is published in real time as a raw stream of reports every 20 to 60 minutes. This is the first thing anyone sees when they open a weather website at any given moment. However, National Meteorological Services have a separate official daily report that is generated after midnight based on the day's results, and then a final revised version is published 1 to 3 days after the observation, following data quality control. The difference between these versions is usually small, within tenths of a degree, but it is precisely at the threshold boundary, for example, above 32 degrees Celsius, that these tenths determine the outcome. If the resolution rule refers to the official daily report of the Meteorological Service and not to the raw real-time data stream, you should rely on that. Even if the raw data showed a different number at that moment, Windy and most weather apps show exactly that raw, unprocessed, real-time data stream. This is convenient for forecasting, but not for verifying the final result if the resolution rule points to an official source. WXR.gov publishes several versions at once. For example, let's go to the Las Vegas Strip. WXR.gov publishes several versions at once. This is the hourly forecast and current observations. This is raw data. But the separate daily climate report, which is released shortly after midnight, is already the official summary of the day. This is no longer raw, but verified. It is precisely this that the resolution rules most often refer to, so to speak. The third source, yes, is the local climatological data from the same weather service. This is the final, so to speak, revised version, which appears 1 to 3 days after the observation and in rare cases differs from the initial daily report, but by tenths of a degree due to data quality control. If the market does not close immediately, but a few days after the observed day, it is worth checking this final version. That is, if we take Los Angeles or Las Vegas, for example. Let's do that. Here we have the 3-day history. We can see, yes, what our temperature was for the last 3 days. That is, these are already verified data, which are already confirmed, already recorded, so you should rely on them. Here they are indicated precisely to 1/10. They aren't rounded in either direction, which gives us the opportunity to honestly assess, so to speak, yes, what our temperature was at any given moment in time, if we had any bets on events on the 10th, 11th or 12th, which are already past events. And, well, it's worth checking against this final version rather than what was published on the first night, for example. A typical market mistake. Participants see the raw value from an airport station in the moment, for example 57 degrees Fahrenheit, rounded up in their heads to, say, almost 60, and conclude that the threshold of 60 won't be crossed, although the official daily report from the weather service, which will ultimately go into the resolution, might show, say, 61 or 62 due to a different rounding methodology or some other moment of recording the maximum of the raw data sequence itself. The opposite situation also happens. Raw data in the moment shows a clear exceeding of the threshold. Market participants record this as an obvious outcome, but when the official daily report is generated, the peak value is technically rejected by quality control as an erroneous sensor spike, and a different lower number goes into the final report. In both cases, the gap arises not because of an error in the weather forecast, but because of confusion between what is seen in the moment and what will ultimately be recorded by the official source specified in the rules. Therefore, always check verbatim which specific source the resolution rule refers to: temperature according to station data, or the official daily maximum from the meteorological service, and/or, for example, the final revised climate data. It all sounds similar, it would seem, but technically these are different documents that sometimes diverge from each other. If the market closes, well, not on the observation day, but later, be sure to check whether the figure has undergone a revision in the meantime before relying on the first number you saw. Make it a habit to do a quick, check before any bet on the temperature market. First, find the exact wording of the data source in the rules, then open that specific source, for example, and not just the first weather forecast site you come across. Only after that, compare the number with the threshold. If the rules refer to a final report and the market resolves a few days after the observation, be sure to check if the value has been revised in the meantime. This isn't about who has a better feel for the weather, but about who is the first to honestly match the rules wording with the correct document. And it is precisely this, rather than the nuances of the forecast, that most often determines the outcome in borderline cases. Subscribe to our Telegram channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel. There will be more analyses coming up. Bye everyone.